The story begins with the fact that the strongest man of that world, Ilaji, before his death, created a place called the Divine King Mainland. And Laji there hid the source of his own power, the divine essence, and whoever could hold this essence would receive the right to dominate the continent of the Divine King. And since then, adventurers from all over the world began to flock to that place to find that same source of divine power and try their luck. And one day, 100 years later, a guy covered in bruises and abrasions apologized to his friends for underestimating his opponent. The monster held the girl captive and told the guy that they had lost. He ordered him to give him the divine essence of Ilaji, otherwise he threatened to kill the girl. The guy ordered the monster to immediately release President Qian Shui and said that then he would give him the legendary divine essence. Qian Shui told the guy that she forbids giving the divine essence to this monster under any circumstances. The guy burst into tears and said that all his friends were already dead, so he couldn't lose President Qian Shui because he valued her very much. Qian Shui asked the guy to think carefully about why each of them gave their lives and why they deliberately took such a risk. Qian Shui said that their group's dream was to stand on top of the Divine King continent and each of them risked their lives for this dream. She said that maybe their group called the Thousand Snows and was almost defeated and broken into pieces and did not achieve their goal. But as long as the guy protected the divine essence, they would not lose. Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that he was chosen by the divine essence. Qian Shui asked the guy to promise her that he would never transfer the divine essence into bad hands to bad people. After these words, Qian Shui fell and lost consciousness. The monster said that no one could have thought that she had poison in her tooth and committed suicide in front of the king. Qiu Lin told the monster not to touch the girl. The monster asked the guy not to waste energy in vain. The monster said that if he wanted, he would have finished with him long ago. Qiu Lin thought that none of his friends were left and said that he, too, would soon go to the next world. Qiu Lin asked the king of hell why he delayed killing him. The king of hell replied that did some mosquito really dare to talk to the king in such a tone and asked if the guy really thought that he would not end his life. But the king added that if the guy died, then the divine essence would be lost along with him and said that otherwise he would have ended his life long ago. Qiu Lin said that if the entity synchronized with him, then what right did he have to demand it from him? He said that essence is not something you can pick up on the street. The guy looked closely at the king and said that he could give him something that a mere mortal would never get in his life. The king of hell replied that this was only possible if the guy terminated the contract with the divine essence and handed it over to him. Qiu Lin replied that if the entity recognized him as its owner, he would make sure that it never had a next owner. The king asked the guy if he really wanted to self-destruct with the divine essence. The king told the guy that he was crazy and did he really want to die with him. The king said that if he gave him the divine essence, then they would rule the world as equals, because the life of an ordinary mortal lasted only 100 years. The king asked the guy that he didn't really want to live an eternal life, but Qiu Lin replied that life no longer mattered to him. Finally, Qiu Lin told President Qian Shui that until the very last moment he did not have the courage to confess his feelings to her. Qiu Lin said that if they manage to meet in the next life, he will no longer regret anything and will begin to act immediately. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin saw his friends and they asked him to lead their group to the top of the Divine King continent. And then suddenly Qiu Lin woke up and at first did not understand what happened, and then it dawned on him that it was a dream and he never died. And then Qiu Lin noticed Haley sleeping next to him. He looked at it and wondered what the members of the Azure Wolf group were doing there. The guy, thinking, looked around the area and realized that it looked like he was in the forest near Green Lake on the very outskirts of the mainland. Qiu Lin realized that his wizard life energy was of the second rank. This is exactly the rank he had upon graduating from the Academy of Magic. The guy wondered if he hadn't died but been reborn. He was also reborn by the time he first set foot on the mainland 3 years ago. Qiu Lin felt a familiar aura and realized that it was a divine essence. She was still in his body. He didn't understand what had happened. The guy looked closely at the divine essence and felt that now its power was very weak compared to the past. And then he heard someone roar. The guy thought that this was really the same black-winged panther 3 years ago and immediately squeezed the essence. The guy couldn't believe it, because apparently he had really returned to the mainland of the Divine King. He was delighted with this event. Qiu Lin thought that this time he would not allow himself to lose and he would try his best to emerge victorious in the battle. The group members heard a roar and thought it was an attack from a demonic beast. The guy asked his friends to calm down and get ready. The guy from the group ordered all members of the Azure Wolf group to take a fighting position and prepare for defense in case of danger. The guy asked everyone to stand closer to him. He said it was their first time on the mainland and he didn't want them to get into any trouble. The guy from the group told Qiu Lin not to stand aside, rooted to the spot, and asked him to come to them so that they could cope with the danger together. Qiu Lin looked at the guy and said that he was deceiving beautifully, because he was just scared and wanted to throw him into the mouth of the beast so that he could escape from there later. And then suddenly a panther approached them. The guy looked at its patterns and realized that it was a 5th-rank black-winged panther. The guy thought that this was not a safe zone, and what was an animal of such a high rank doing there, because in theory it was very difficult to meet them in such places. The beast began to approach them, and then the guy informed all his comrades that they would have to fight to the death. The guy from the group wanted to attack this beast, but the beast instantly dodged his blow and jumped on him with the intention of finishing him off. But the guy threw his sword and miraculously escaped the beast's jaws. Because she almost tore off his head. If he had not thrown his weapon, he would hardly have been able to dodge. But the beast began to step on them, and then this guy asked Qiu Lin for forgiveness and pushed him towards the beast to gain time to escape from there. Qiu Lin thought that those bastards just decided to leave him there. Everything happened exactly as it did 3 years ago, just as he expected. The guy ordered all his comrades to quickly run away from there, but Haley asked the group president what they would do with Qiu Lin. The guy told Haley that Qiu Lin was just a 2nd-rank vitality wizard. If she wanted to stay with him then she could stay there. But Haley asked for forgiveness from Qiu Lin and quickly ran away from there along with her group, leaving the guy alone with this deadly beast. Qiu Lin defended himself from the beast. He remembered 100 ways to deal with the black-winged panther, but now his body was too weak. Qiu Lin thought that he could no longer hold this beast, but suddenly he noticed the fluctuations in the energy of the divine essence. The guy, upon reflection, realized that this was a magnificent ability to absorb divine essence. Qiu Lin thought that he could really use this divine ability as a 2nd-rank vitality wizard. But Qiu Lin realized that if he did nothing, this beast would easily kill him. He should have tried to use the essence. As long as the demonic beast's level was not 3 ranks higher than its own, Qiu Lin could use this ability to absorb their skills. By devouring the demonic beast, he gained enormous power. Qiu Lin realized that this is the great ability of the divine essence. But suddenly an arrow flew at the panther and pierced straight into the monster. Qiu Lin stood rooted to the spot and did not understand who could have done this. But suddenly he noticed President Qian Shui. Qiu Lin remembered that it was there that he met her after she saved him. Qian Shui wondered if the black-winged panther was so weak because it only took 1 shot to finish him off. Qiu Lin couldn't help but shed tears of joy when he saw Qian Shui. After all, he was glad that he could see President Qian Shui every day again. Qian Shui said that she had to go. She was hurrying to Green Lake. Qiu Lin asked her to wait and said that he would go with her. The girl was surprised and stopped and asked the guy if he had known her before and how he found out that she was the president. Qiu Lin realized that he had said too much out of excitement. He wondered if he should tell her the truth, but he thought that no one would believe his story. The girl told him to answer her question, but the guy thought that if someone found out that he had taken possession of the essence, they could take it away from him. Qiu Lin told her that she really forgot that she attended the Academy of Scarlet Flame Magic and hired people there, and that's where he saw her. The guy thought that in this life he would never allow her to get hurt. Qian Shui recalled the Scarlet Flame Magic Academy. The girl said that she had the feeling that he was the same white-haired guy who was insulted by all his classmates. The guy said that he knew her like the back of his hand, so she could tell him anything. The girl said that he was not a member of her group and asked not to call her president. The guy told Qian Shui that he wanted to join her group and go around every corner of the mainland with her. The girl asked if he wanted to join them. But the girl asked the guy if he wasn't already in the group, and as far as she remembered he was in the group of Azure Wolves. Qiu Lin said that he was no longer a member of their group and said that they threw him to the panther to buy time to escape. Qian Shui was surprised and shocked that they abandoned a member of their own squad in such danger and called them scoundrels. The guy told Qian Shui that he would go with her to the Green Lake City Trade Union office and disconnect from their group and apply to join their group. The girl asked the guy what his name was and what his rank was. The guy said that his name was Qiu Lin and he was a 2nd-rank wizard. Meanwhile, a member of the Azure Wolves told Haley that his classmate sacrificed himself to save them and gave his life for a good cause. And people from the public order should not have been interested in this, because so many people on this continent died, and that's why he didn't understand why she blamed him. A member of their group told Haley to listen to their president and not blame herself because they didn't do anything bad to anyone. Haley agreed with them, but suddenly he pointed his finger at the front door and told the president that Chiu Lin had fortunately returned to them. The group's president said that Chiu Lin is a lucky asshole because a second-rank wizard could not defeat the Black Wind Panther. And then one of the president's people asked him to look at the beauty next to Chiu Lin and said that she must have been the one who saved this brat. Chiu Lin approached the girl in charge of the documents and said that he wanted to apply to leave the Azure Wolf Squad. The girl agreed but said that in order to leave the detachment he had to pay a fee for leaving in the amount of 100 gold pieces. Chiu Lin didn't believe it and was very surprised and thought that in order to leave the group he really had to pay 100 gold. The girl said that this was necessary to minimize losses as much as possible after a member left the group. These were the rules of each squad. Qian Shui, hearing all the words spoken, was surprised and thought that this guy really couldn't even afford 100 gold. Chiu Lin remembered that in his past life, President Qian Shui helped him deal with leaving the group, so he had no idea about it. But suddenly the president of the Azure Wolves said that Chiu Lin would not have to pay 100 gold if his president agreed. Qian Shui asked who he was. The guy replied that this was his president, but the president of the Azure Wolves said that he would not give him his consent. Qian Shui got angry and asked the president of the Azure Wolves how he could throw a member of his squad to be torn to pieces by a demonic beast. The president asked the girl to watch her words. He asked if she saw him throw it. He said that Chiu Lin himself wanted to leave him. But he added that in the union's charter there was a rule according to which if the president did not give consent, a member of the detachment could leave it after defeating the president. The president said that it would be difficult with him and therefore Chiu Lin had to defeat his vice president Lu Shanfei and that would be enough. Qian Shui said that Chiu Lin was a second-rank wizard and the president wanted him to fight a third-rank warrior and said that it was unfair. The Azure Wolves said that this was their business. The president asked the girl why she needed this idiot, because on this continent they left all sorts of scum behind. Qian Shui said that he is a bastard. Chiu Lin asked her to calm down and said that everything was fine. One said that he would show everyone what trash is capable of. Meanwhile, Lu Shanfei and Chiu Lin stood on the battlefield. Lu Shanfei told the guy that he was clearly out of his mind because he was usually very flexible. Chiu Lin said that he just wanted to get away from them quickly. He said he wasn't going to waste any more time on clowns like them. Lu Shanfei got very angry and asked if the guy really wanted to die. He began to quickly approach Chiu Lin and said that he would finish him off now. Chiu Lin remembered that earlier he had absorbed the abilities of the Black Wind Panther and he needed to test them on the vice president. Qian Shui called the guy a fool and asked him to retreat, but suddenly Chiu Lin dodged Lu Shanfei's powerful blow. Chiu Lin realized that he had adopted the panther's speed, but he wanted to check whether he had adopted its strength, and then suddenly Chiu Lin knocked out Lu Shanfei with one blow. The president was shocked and asked what it was just now. Chiu Lin told the president that if he had nothing more to say and asked if he could leave. The president said that Lu Shanfei was a third-rank warrior and how could a second-rank wizard manage to defeat such a strong warrior. Chiu Lin asked the president of the Azure Wolves not to be nervous and calm down and said that perhaps he was just lucky. Haley said that only a fifth-rank warrior could kill a third-rank warrior in a matter of seconds and told Chiu Lin that this could not be an accident. The president said that he did not think that the guy would be a warrior of the fifth rank and he apologized to him for everything and asked him not to leave the squad. Chiu Lin remembered that in his past life, they didn't even look at him after they threw him to be devoured by the Black Wind Panther. Chiu Lin thought that if Qian Shui had not come to his aid at that moment, he might not have survived that ill-fated night. The president told Chiu Lin that he would be of great help by remaining in the Azure Wolves group. The president said that he was wrong last time. Chiu Lin asked him if the president really wanted him to forgive him and said that he did not understand something. Chiu Lin said that he had already shown mercy by not finishing him off. The president was very angry because the guy was talking to him as an equal, and recently he was just trash and after that the president rushed at him with his fists. Chiu Lin instantly dodged his blow and asked the president if he really wanted to die and the guy used the Panther Claw skill and killed the president with one blow. Haley, seeing all this, knelt down and began begging Chiu Lin to forgive him. Chiu Lin ordered him to raise his head and said that the past is already in the past. The guy told Haley to take these two of his associates and leave the mainland. He said that they would not be able to survive there without valuing their comrades in the Union. And finally, Chiu Lin said that besides, he did not want to see their deceitful faces anymore. Haley agreed to all terms. Chiu Lin told Qian Shui that Haley was too weak and it was better for him not to stay there alone. The girl asked how he said goodbye to his old friend. Qian Shui told the guy that he seemed to be quite familiar with the affairs of the mainland. The guy replied that he had just heard a lot from his friends. Qian Shui asked the guy why he hid from her the fact that he was a 5th-rank warrior. The guy replied that he really was a 2nd-rank wizard. The guy said that he received the abilities of a warrior due to the absorption of the ability of a Black Panther by a divine essence and said that he himself is not a warrior. The girl suggested that, apparently, he hid his skills well because people still had no idea about his warrior abilities. But she added that since he decided to join her squad, from now on he should not hide his abilities and other skills from her. Chiu Lin smiled and said that he understood her quite clearly and apparently now he will have to be called a warrior everywhere. Qian Shui told the guy directly that there were not many people in her alliance, but in it he could get the best payments. Chiu Lin remembered that when their union first started doing business, he was very poor. The girl said that she was very delighted with his vision. The guy smiled and said that he would rather remain silent all the time. The girl asked the guy if he agreed to join their group and gave him a badge and said that in the future she would do better for him than this. The guy looked closely at the emblem and remembered that it was the initial emblem of his favorite squad of the Thousand Snows. The girl said that since the guy had already received the emblem and met the president, from now on he could be considered a member of the detachment of 1,000 Snows. The girl thought that the guy was a very talented guy but behaved like a small child. She thought that she would take care of him. The girl almost forgot and asked the guy why he came to the continent of the Divine King to strengthen himself or to make money. The guy replied that neither one nor the other is his goal. He wanted the Thousand Snows troop to win the final victory in the battle for the mainland and make it the strongest on the entire continent. The girl smiled and said that she thought that he was a fairly honest person, but he turned out to be a storyteller and inventor. The girl said that he called her some fantastic things and asked the guy not to make such loud speeches in front of her anymore. Chiu Lin thought that everything said before was not boastful and unrealistic words, because it was the purest truth. After all, Chiu Lin remembered that in a past life, Chiu Lin and Qian Shui stood together at the top of the Divine King continent. The girl told the guy not to lag behind and asked him to go with her so that she could introduce him to another representative of the Thousand Snows squad. The guy remembered that Rubus and Xiao Yu weren't supposed to be there yet and it dawned on him that apparently she wanted to introduce him to that guy. Meanwhile, one guy was looking out the window at Qian Shui. He was wondering who she was returning there with and she looked cheerful with him. The guy called his butler and asked him who this Qian Shui was and why he had to always please her at all costs. The guy said that he can't stand girls like that. The butler replied to the young master that getting close to Miss Qian Shui was the order of the patriarch. The butler told the young master that he had to obey the order even if he didn't want to and it was not negotiable. The guy ordered the butler to come down and receive them and said that he would soon come down and join them. The butler replied that he would do everything. Meanwhile, Chiu Lin got tired of waiting and asked why they were not allowed into the house and had to wait outside. The girl said that he would soon come to them. And then the same guy with yellow hair appeared in front of them and asked for forgiveness for being late in front of Miss Qian Shui. The guy appeared with flowers in his hands and told Miss Qian Shui that he had not seen her for several days and she was still as beautiful as the sweetest rose. The guy handed her flowers. Qian Shui said that she could not accept them. She asked if this was another love letter because she refused him last time. The guy asked her to open the envelope and said that there was a surprise prepared for her. The girl told the guy that he was also a bore. But when she opened the envelope she was very surprised because she found there a magical crystal card with a limit of 5,000 gold. The guy said that their union had just started its activities, which means they had large expenses, and so he asked her to consider this amount as a contribution to their union. The girl was delighted and said that as soon as the squad became larger, she would definitely return the entire amount with interest. She thanked Lian for being so generous. Lian said that there was no need for gratitude because there were no debts between them, but deep down he thought that she could return his money. The girl told Lian that she forgot to introduce him to Chiu Lin, said that this was a new member of their squad and asked them to get along with each other. Chiu Lin realized that this was definitely the same freak, because in a past life, Lian persecuted President Qian Shui using beautiful words and his money. After the president rejected him twice, he revealed his true nature and squandered all the squad's resources, which led to its collapse. Lian asked him if he was really a newbie. Qiu Lin did not listen to him, and after thinking, he decided that in this life he would not allow this to happen again. But suddenly, Qian Shui shouted at Qiu Lin and brought him to his senses. She asked why he was in the clouds and asked him to introduce himself. Qiu Lin agreed with the girl and introduced himself to Lian and said that he was a 5th-rank warrior and asked him to take care of him. Lian turned to the girl and asked her if she had mixed up anything and thought that Qiu Lin turned out to be a deceiver. Qiu Lin was very happy when he heard these words spoken by Lian, because this was the same reaction as in his previous life. Lian told the girl that he used magic to test him and he was at best a 2nd-rank vitality wizard and not a 5th. The girl said that he doesn't have to believe it if he wants. Qian Shui said that she saw with her own eyes how Qiu Lin easily defeated 2 3rd-rank warriors in close combat. Lian asked if she was really saying everything seriously because for some reason he didn't feel anything like that when he checked him. After all, from Qiu Lin there was a faint trace of elemental magical power and, moreover, there was absolutely no combat aura that warriors had perfected. Lian thought that Qiu Lin was hiding his strength. Lian asked the girl if she trusted this man. She replied that she completely believed him. Lian was at a loss. He didn't understand why Qian Shui only met this guy yesterday and immediately allowed him to join his squad. Qian Shui said that she completely believed in her intuition and she thought that he was a reliable comrade just like Lian. Lian did not understand her words and wondered what this little cunning man had managed to say to her and how he gained such trust in her. Lian, in turn, needed a whole month to win her favor and therefore he was infuriated by the fact that this guy managed it in such a short time. Lian asked if she would leave the guy in the group no matter what he said. The girl agreed and he was very angry with this answer. After all, he spent so much money and effort on her, and even after that he did not have the right to kick anyone out or add anyone from the group, but be angry because getting Qian Shui was the highest order given to him by his family and therefore he had to restrain himself and endure. But Qiu Lin was an obstacle to this and therefore he had to keep him away from her because he could have a bad influence on her. Finally, Lian told the girl that if she decided so, then he would no longer ask her unnecessary questions regarding her group. And since Qiu Lin was a 5th-rank warrior, he said that he believed that he would provide invaluable assistance in the further development of the squad. Lian said that today he and Qian Shui were going to carry out a task to pacify the boars and asked the guy if he would go with them because this way he could at least test his abilities. Qiu Lin thought that he would never leave Qian Shui alone with such a bastard and agreed to his proposal. Qian Shui said that she has a magic card with 5,000 gold and as soon as they clear the area, she said that everyone will receive a reward of 1,000 gold. Qiu Lin was overjoyed and thanked the president, and Lian thought that she was great because she bribed people's hearts with his money. Lian briefed them on the details of the mission. They needed to clear out the wild boars' territory, and the reward was 3,000 gold and they would need 4 people for this. After that, they arrived at this territory and found one guy there who was fleeing from a wild boar and asking people to save him. Lian approached the boar and said that he would see the coming of winter and then he created ice spears and after that pierced the boar to death. The guy looked at all this and was surprised because Lian easily dealt with this wild boar with just one attack and did not make any effort. Qiu Lin thought that he really had a powerful attack. Qian Shui told the guy that Lian was a 7th-rank wizard. Lian was the strongest representative of the 1,000 Snow Squad. He looked at the brat Qiu Lin and thought how scared he was from his actions. And then the same guy whom he saved grabbed his leg and asked Lian to take him with him, but Lian immediately kicked him to the side. Lian thought that the Divine King's mainland was a huge forest inhabited by all sorts of idiots who still needed to be looked for. Therefore, Lian told Miss that she should be more careful because some could lie to her in order to make money at her expense and she wouldn't even notice it. Qiu Lin looked at him and thought that he had just finished off a dry-blooded boar and was proud of it, as if he had moved mountains. Qiu Lin thought what kind of a joke is this? Lian thought that he was in excellent condition today and this brat still stood behind him and pretended that this did not concern him and thought that he was probably already planning an escape. Lian said that the boar territory ended there and there were about 10 4th-rank dry-blooded boars ahead. Qian Shui said that someone alone should attract the monsters to them and Lian added that they need to attract the attention of the boars and then they would attack them. Lian said that since they had a new friend with them, a 5th-rank warrior, he could take on this task. Lian thought that then he would expose his deception. Qian Shui told Qiu then they would use him as bait and she did not approve, but Qiu Lin replied that everything was fine and said that he would do it. But suddenly Qiu Lin jumped on a flock of boars and, activating the power of the panther, began to destroy all the boars standing there one by one. Lian, looking at all this, could not find words because he did not know that this could even happen and did not understand what had just happened. Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that he turned out to be so fierce and she simply could not believe her eyes that he dealt with the boars so easily. The girl approached him and asked what he was doing. Qiu Lin said that he was just sitting and cooking barbecue. He said he was a little hungry. Qian Shui asked to examine his hand and noticed that his hand was wounded and covered in abrasions, and the girl asked if he was in pain. Qiu Lin replied that he was fine and said that it was just a scratch. The girl said that she would bring him a healing potion. She asked Qiu Lin to wait for her. The guy thought that the president was so caring and attentive and always took care of him. Qiu Lin realized that his body was still weak even though he defeated the dry-blooded boars with just one blow to their weak spot. However, the recoil force also caused damage to himself and therefore he needed to absorb the demonic beast with increased defense. The girl asked Lian if he saw it and he replied that he saw everything. The girl asked that now he believes in her intuition for selection. Lian replied that of course he believed her and had no doubts before, but deep down he realized that this brat was much stronger than him. Qian Shui took out the necessary medicine and went to Qiu Ling, but suddenly she noticed that a huge frightening monster appeared in front of him. Qiu Lin was very glad that the hidden monster appeared in the territory after all, he had originally hoped to see it. After all, he knew that if the adventurer would defeat 10 dry-blooded boars within 3 minutes and burn their bodies at the stake, then he could attract the true owner of the territory of the Iron Yak boars, because he was the most suitable target for him. And then the Iron Yak rushed at the guy and Qiu Lin took him by the horns and hung on him. The yak just dragged the guy aside at high speed. Lian wondered where such a huge wild yak came from. Qian Shui said that they had to help him at all costs. Lian said that this yak was very big and how could they save the guy. The girl replied that she would never leave her friend in trouble. And then the girl said that they must return Qiu Lin, but Lian said that it was too dangerous and he couldn't let her take that risk. But Lian suddenly suggested that the girl leave the guy because it was already very difficult to find him and said that he would find a new friend for her. But suddenly, Qian Shui felt a sharp pain in her leg and fell to the ground. She thought that the pain might be caused by a collision with an iron yak. And then Lian ran up to her and asked if she was hurt. He said that he would give her medicine right away, but she replied that she was fine. She wanted to get up to save Qiu Lin, but Lian said that she could not move now due to her injured leg and could not even stand up. She sat in despair because even if she used a healing potion, it would take about 15 minutes to heal. But then Lian said that it hurt him to see such a strong girl like her worry about some guy she recently met. He approached her and said that he wanted to become her support because he liked her very much and immediately he wanted to kiss her. But Qian Shui pushed him away and said that she may seem like a weak girl, but she was still the president of the Thousand Snow Group. And so she asked him if he could show her a little more respect and get busy instead of wasting time. Lian replied that he understood her, but I thought what he did wrong again, because if he had treated her like the most ordinary girls, he would have succeeded long ago. And then Lian went somewhere. The girl asked if he was leaving and he replied that he was going to save that same boy from danger. The girl asked him to wait and said that she was going with him, but he replied that by that time the boy would probably die. Finally, Qian Shui said that she was counting on Lian. Meanwhile, the Iron Yak continued to drag Qiu Lin. Qiu Lin asked how long he was going to run and whether it was time for him to let him go. But the Iron Yak continued to run towards the tree and then the guy realized that he still wanted to finish it off, but at the last moment the guy jumped and the yak crashed into a tree. And then Qiu Lin hit the yak with all his might, but he didn't feel anything. This is exactly what he expected from the protection of the iron-horned yak, because he remained unharmed after being hit with full force. Qiu Lin realized that a little more and his arm would have broken from the blows, and the iron yak continued to attack him with all its might. And then suddenly the iron yak quickly ran up to the guy and used his unique skill called Buffalo Stomp. Qiu Lin realized that he could not defeat him if he relied only on strength alone, and besides, President Qian Shui should have been nearby. And so Qiu Lin took out the divine essence and thought that he was already too long and he needed to finish this fight quickly. And then suddenly the iron yak began to run away from there. The guy thought that even divine beasts felt danger from the divine essence. And then the guy used the assault acceleration skill and instantly approached the iron yak and stood right in front of him and said that now he was finished. Qiu Lin began to absorb the beast with the help of divine essence, and he noticed that the absorption speed had increased much more than last time. The guy thought that very soon he would gain a defensive skill, but suddenly the iron yak stumbled and began to fall right on the guy. The guy thought that he had not yet completely absorbed his skill. Meanwhile, Lian searched for Qiu Lin and eventually found him. He looked at the guy with the yak and wondered if they were really dead, but he noticed that the brat was alive. Lian took the stone standing nearby and asked the guy for forgiveness and said that he would not save him under any circumstances. Lian asked to blame the guy himself for his untimely appearance, because he shouldn't have come between him and Qian Shui. Lian approached Qiu Ling and immediately dealt a powerful blow to his head with that same stone, but he felt as if he had hit iron. Lian thought that he couldn't hesitate any longer because it would be really bad if Qian Shui came there and she would suspect everything. Lian continued to hit him on the head with the stone over and over again, but nothing happened, and eventually the stone itself broke into pieces due to the endless blows. And then suddenly Qiu Lin asked Lian to listen to him and asked him if he had played enough, and if he had played enough, now it was his turn. Lian asked the guy if he really wanted to fight him, and Qiu Lin replied that Lian really thought that he couldn't beat him. And then suddenly Qiu Lin stood up from under the iron yak and, lifting it above his head, begged the iron monster to the side without any effort. Lian asked the guy who he was. He said that if something happened to him, neither he or President Qian Shui would be able to get rid of the problems. Qiu Lin clearly understood that now he would not be able to attack him, but he was quite capable of scaring him. Qiu Lin asked Lian if he really thought that he cared about this. And he began to slowly approach Lian, but he suddenly lost consciousness and fell to the ground. Qiu Lin realized that he had also mastered the axe skill. And then Qian Shui ran up to him and said that she was very glad that he was okay. Qiu Lin apologized to her for making her worry. The girl asked what happened to Lian, and Qiu Lin said that a pebble accidentally fell on him. She told Qiu Lin that he was cool because he single-handedly defeated the iron-horned yak. Meanwhile, Lian woke up and was very angry with Qiu Lin. The butler greeted him and said that he was very glad that his young master had woken up. The first thing Lian did was ask his butler where Miss Qian Shui was. The butler replied that she left as soon as she delivered him there. The butler told Lian that it looks like Miss Qian Shui went shopping with a young man named Qiu Lin. Lian was very angry and thought that she deliberately took this guy into the group in order to confront and spite him. The guy told the butler that as long as Qiu Lin hung around her, his value would simply depreciate over time, and if this continued, Qian Shui would simply get rid of him. The butler asked his master not to worry. And then Lian said that Qiu Lin must be gotten rid of immediately and ordered his butler to immediately prepare 100,000 gold. Lian said that he is going to hire one person to get rid of this Qiu Lin once and for all. Meanwhile, at the market, President Qian Shui approached a blacksmith and asked him to immediately return her equipment. The blacksmith looked at her menacingly and said that he had told her earlier that while enhancing the equipment there would be some risks. The blacksmith said that the probability of equipment breakdown would be 10% lower with a protective potion, and it was not his fault that she did not acquire it. The girl said that she didn't care and asked to return her money. The blacksmith replied that he understood how she felt, but there was no question of compensation. Qian Shui told him that he was a swindler and a deceiver, and then suddenly Qiu Lin approached them and greeted President Qian Shui. Qian Shui told the guy that he was just in time, and she asked them to judge. Qiu Lin realized that this was an ordinary blacksmith routine. The blacksmith said that he had seen thousands of clients like her, but he had never compensated anyone for anything, and here the law of the mainland was on his side. The girl told the stinking old man that she would teach him a lesson, but suddenly Qiu Lin stopped her and said that if she started a fight with the blacksmith, she could fly out of the mainland. And then the blacksmith shouted at them and said that they were two fools and told them not to interfere with his business and to go to hell. And finally, the blacksmith added that if they don't leave and continue to pester him, he will immediately call the judge there and let her decide what to do with them. Qian Shui asked the guy if he could cope with this arrogant and deceitful blacksmith. The guy replied that he would do everything right. The girl said that then she would go and sit in a nearby park and wait for good news from him, and immediately disappeared behind a tree. Qiu Lin took out the horns and asked the blacksmith to look at them carefully. the blacksmith said that these were ordinary horns and there was nothing for him to look at. But after looking more closely, the blacksmith was surprised and shocked. He asked the guy if these really were the horns of an iron yak. Chiu Lin said that he thought so, and the blacksmith had a diamond in his eye. The blacksmith asked the guy if he wanted him to make him equipment and said that he could do anything. The guy agreed and said that he can do whatever he wants only on one condition, if he agrees to his one simple request. And then the guy asked the blacksmith how long he had been in this city for 10 or 20 years, because he was very interested in knowing this. Chiu Lin asked why an experienced blacksmith like him was stuck in a city for beginners, and there had to be a reason for this. And he said that on the Divine King continent, the equipment created by the blacksmith could directly affect a person's status. And how could a blacksmith like him use some inexpensive materials to make inexpensive equipment and be at the beginning of his career? But finally the guy added that if everything suited him and he could not even dream of great achievements, then so be it, he could continue his miserable existence. The blacksmith told him that he was saying everything smoothly and added that he himself was not eager to hang around in such a place, and this was not his desire. The blacksmith said that it was all about the adventurers whose level was getting lower and lower and they were not even able to obtain rare materials. But then the blacksmith burst into tears and said that he was simply burying his talent there, and in fact he wanted to become the king of blacksmiths and not hang around in this place. The blacksmith added that he wanted to climb to the top and get to the big city. Chiu Lin replied that he understood him perfectly. Therefore, the blacksmith asked the guy to give him these iron horns so that he could make very rare and cool equipment out of them and could climb the career ladder. The guy replied that there is nothing shameful in crying at such an advanced age. The blacksmith said that if the guy agrees to this, he will agree to any of his conditions. Meanwhile, Qian Shui was waiting for the guy on the bench. She thought that it was already dark, and how long would she wait for him? The girl began to worry about the guy, and she thought that maybe something had happened to him. She thought that she shouldn't have left him alone. Meanwhile, Chiu Lin realized that this old blacksmith actually compensated for the cost of the silver weapon, and it was great. The guy thought that the head of Qian Shui would definitely be happy when he found out about this, and suddenly a monster jumped out of nowhere and started attacking the guy. The monster told Chiu Lin that he had come to take his life. The monster continued to attack the guy and said that he would show him his true level. Chiu Lin felt his blow and thought that this monster really had a very heavy blow, because from such a blow he was thrown to the side. Chiu Lin lost consciousness from such blows, and when he woke up, he realized that the monster had deadly attacks at the 7th rank level. The monster asked the guy to get up and continue the fight. Chiu Lin wondered who he could have annoyed so much and why a 7th rank warrior clung to him. Chiu Lin thought that after absorbing the Black Panther and the Iron Yak, his strength and defense were at the 6th level and he could not withstand a 7th rank warrior. The monster at that time was wondering whether they would give him 100,000 gold pieces for the head of such a master. The monster kicked the guy and said that he didn't think he seemed such a weakling. After such a blow, Chiu Lin fell into the water. The monster said that his employer was such a handsome guy who had a decent amount of money. Chiu Lin, hearing this, thought that Lian was really the employer of this monster, and could he really come up with such a thing just to annoy him? Chiu Lin thought that he needed a strategy to fight him. He thought that he had absorbed an aquatic inhabitant. He would be able to stay underwater for more time to think. The monster asked the guy not to think that he would be safe while underwater because the monster was still not done with him. And suddenly a very strange creature appeared from the monster's mouth and immediately dived into the water to finish off this guy once and for all. Chiu Lin thought that if his opponent was a 7th rank warrior, it meant that he must be weak in defense. And if Chiu Lin could use his strongest blow to attack his weak spot, then he would have a chance to defeat him. But suddenly he noticed that a new wave of attacks was approaching him, and he thought that this monster did not even give him time to rest. Meanwhile, Lian approached Qian Shui and asked if she seriously thought that he was a very bad person. Qian Shui asked him why he suddenly asked such a question. Lian said that he just suddenly remembered what happened. Lian said that he remembered their first meeting when she was recruiting members in college, but no one paid attention to her then. Qian Shui said that this was exactly the case, and if he had not helped her then, she would not have been able to even apply for the group. And then Lian asked to ask one question and asked her if only he and Chiu Lin could remain in the group, who would she leave? The girl thought that Lian was very strange today and asked her some strange questions that were difficult to answer. But she thought that Lian was rich and Chiu Lin was strong, and all this was important for the group. She didn't know how to answer him. The girl replied to Lian that he and Chiu Lin were important members of the group and she asked them to get along with each other for the prosperity of the group. President Qian Shui told the guy that he had seen Chiu Lin's strength with his own eyes and asked him not to push him away. Lian agreed with her and told Qian Shui that he hoped that he would still have the opportunity to get along with Chiu Lin. The girl was very surprised to hear such an answer from him. She didn't understand and asked what he really meant. Meanwhile, Chiu Lin, seeing a monster approaching him, realized that he had a 6th-rank beast in his pets. This pet of that same monster was a very strong, dangerous and deadly green-eating sea beast. Chiu Lin realized that his speed underwater was significantly reduced, and if he had not grabbed him, he would have had to endure beatings. And besides, his life force now was at the level of a 2nd-rank wizard and he would not be able to absorb a monster 3 ranks higher than him. And then suddenly the sea beast began to attack him and enveloped the guy, completely depriving him of the ability to resist. Chiu Lin thought that this sea beast was able to change its size and it was clearly a rare type of pet. The guy told the beast that if he wanted to deliver a decisive blow to him by grabbing him with his whole body, then he could calmly do it. He said that he had been waiting for this moment all the time and suddenly Chiu Lin was bitten by a monster. The monster began to scream in severe pain. Chiu Lin realized that the sea beast had already reached 7 meters and the place it bit had to be that same place. And then suddenly a strange ball appeared in front of him. Chiu Lin was surprised and thought what it could be. And Chiu Lin realized that this could be the inner pill of the sea beast, and having lost it, the level of the beast decreased by half and it seemed that he was dying. Chiu Lin realized that he should not waste such things and he needed to quickly absorb this monster. And after some time, the rank 4 green-eating sea serpent attribute was completely absorbed by Chiu Lin. Chiu Lin noticed that the sea serpent was already dead and its inner pill had become an ownerless item. The guy realized that since this had already happened, he had to take her. A drop of blood was enough to recognize the owner. Chiu Lin realized that this sea beast was a very unusual pet and its inner pill was top class. After this, Chiu Lin's life force as a wizard became the 4th rank and the strength of a warrior became the 8th. He realized that the inner pill doubled all attributes. And besides, all his bodily injuries were healed. He was very surprised and it was a great gift for him. And then Chiu Lin realized that now he could cope with that monster who recently smashed him without a chance. And then suddenly his pet appeared in front of the monster and tied up Chiu Lin. The monster grinned because he was bored. The monster ordered his snake to return to him, but she did not respond to his command. The monster was very surprised by this. But then suddenly Chiu Lin opened his eyes and immediately splashed some substance into this monster's eyes and hit him right in the eyes. The monster screamed in pain and was surprised how this guy used the ability of his snake and what happened to his snake. The monster asked the guy what he did with his snake. Chiu Lin asked him if he knew what he miscalculated and when he made a mistake. Chiu Lin said that when the snake reached 7 meters and there was a chance of a retaliatory attack, it was immediately necessary to attack it in a vulnerable place. And after these words, Chiu Lin instantly hit the monster on the head and said that he shouldn't have played with the enemy even when he was stronger than him. Meanwhile, Qian Shui asked Lian what he wanted to tell her and he answered her that he actually didn't say anything. Lian told the girl that he just wanted her to know that he really loved her very much and took the girl's hand. Lian asked Qian Shui to become his girlfriend and promised that he would love her all his life and fulfill all her dreams and wishes. But suddenly Qian Shui removed her hand and asked the guy to stop talking about it because she had already told him that her goal was to make a career. The girl said that she was not going to fall in love with the male members of the group because it would prevent her from building her own career. The girl asked Lian to stop saying such strange things to her in the future and only focus on her work with the group. Lian asked the girl why she was so merciless to him. He didn't understand why she always rejected him and didn't want to listen. Lian told her that he, as a man, had a good-looking appearance and besides, he was always by her side and helped her in difficult times. Lian asked the girl if she really didn't have any feelings for him. Qian Shui replied that she felt nothing at all for him. Lian asked how this was and whether she knew how many women fell in love and ran after him just because of his charm and true beauty. Qian Shui asked the guy for forgiveness and said that she always thought he was a good person, but she didn't want to have such a relationship with him. Lian was very upset and asked the girl why she disgraced him so much because he did everything right and did not upset her. The girl asked Lian to calm down and said that she had no intention of disgracing him or humiliating him in any way because he was dear to her. But then suddenly Lian attacked the girl and told her that she was the most contemptuous girl he had ever met. Lian said that there is nothing remarkable about her. Qian Shui told the guy to quickly let her go and asked if he realized what he was doing now. Lian, in tears, told her that she didn't mean it in a good way, so he had to resort to force, because she simply didn't understand any other way. The girl called for help and asked Qiu Lin to save her. Lian said that it was useless to call him and told her that this idiot was already dead. But suddenly at the same moment, a strong blow from Qiu Lin flew into Lian's face. From such an unexpected blow, Lian was thrown to the side. Qiu Lin quickly came to the girl's aid and asked President Qian Shui if she was okay and if this bastard had harmed her. Qiu Lin asked the girl to wait a minute and not worry and added that he would now make this scoundrel disappear instantly. Lian was surprised and asked how he ended up there and where his 7th-rank warrior, who was famous for his cruelty, had gone. Qiu Lin told him that he would see him very soon, but Lian asked him not to come near him and stay away from him. And then Lian used a spell against Qiu Lin and wanted to pierce him with his ice spears, but it didn't affect him at all. Qiu Lin smashed all his spears into pieces and said that such low-level spells were useless against him and he did not feel them. Lian asked him who he was, an 8th-rank warrior. After all, he could not be an ordinary newcomer to this city, and asked who he really was. Qiu Lin ordered Lian to remember once and for all and said that he was a glitch in the matrix of the Divine King continent. Qiu Lin approached him and hit him with all his might, and Lian lay there and just sobbed non-stop. Qiu Lin asked him to stop whining. Qiu Lin said that it was just a warm-up and said that now he would take him seriously and bring down all his power on him. Lian told the guy that he couldn't, that he wouldn't be able to finish him off and asked if he even knew who was behind his family. Qiu Lin replied that he did not care who his friends and relatives were and said that even the Heavenly King would not save him. It was at that moment when Qiu Lin wanted to unleash all his power on Lian that President Qian Shui asked him to stop. The girl said that he had had enough, because whatever he said before, he helped her a lot and she still remembered it. Qian Shui said that maybe Lian didn't really intend to help her, but she still owed him for everything she had done earlier. Lian, meanwhile, asked Qiu Lin to listen to her and said that the order of the group president was not subject to discussion. Qiu Lin exhaled and told the girl that if she thought so, then he would agree with her because he respected her decision and listened to her. Qian Shui told Lian that she was very mistaken about him and immediately threw him an earlier gift card with 5,000 gold. President Qian Shui told Lian that this was all of their group's current savings and she was returning it back to him in full. The girl told Lian that from that moment on he was no longer a member of the Thousand Snows group and said that they would not see each other again. The girl told Qiu Ling to quickly get out of there, and then Lian lay in despair and was angry and said what he had done after all. Meanwhile, Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that she was to blame for him and said that their group was impoverished and she did not have the money to pay him his salary. Qiu Lin smiled and said that everything was fine. He said that such things didn't bother him that much and he didn't really need the money. President Qian Shui asked the guy what was bothering him then and Qiu Lin replied that he was only interested in her. Qiu Lin said that as long as he could be with her, he was the happiest person in the world. Qian Shui told the guy that he was cute. The girl said that it was already late and he could spend the night with her. Qiu Lin replied that he could sleep on a tree. She asked if he wanted to be next to her all the time. Meanwhile, they came to her house and sat joyfully at the table and drank together. Qian Shui asked the guy to drink it all down. Qiu Lin smiled and told Qian Shui that if she drank a lot, her stomach would be in trouble because he remembered that she could not tolerate alcohol. President Qian Shui asked the guy to stop talking nonsense and told him to empty his glass. The guy agreed with this order. Qiu Lin said that he had better go to bed early and said that he would sleep on the balcony. He thought she should have drunk more. But suddenly Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that Lian was her comrade and he had only her on his mind, and then she asked Qiu Lin if he was the same. And then Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that she knew nothing about him at all. She told him that he was so strong and powerful. And I asked him why he wanted to join such a nondescript and small group that also had no money. But suddenly President Qian Shui stood up and asked Qiu Lin what his goal was. She told me to answer her immediately. Qiu Lin smiled and asked what his goal might be, but the girl came close to him and asked him not to change the subject and answer her. But Qiu Lin asked her to answer his question first and asked the girl why she called him by name at the time of danger. Qian Shui said that she did this because she trusted him and he made her feel like a reliable comrade. Chiu Lin asked her to believe in her feeling and not doubt it for a second. She told him that he was so eloquent and pushed him. After that, she approached him and said that he was the only person she trusted now and was her true friend. Qian Shui told the guy that if in the end he turned out to be the same as Lian, then she was not against it because she trusted him. And then suddenly Chiu Lin burst into tears and said that she was the most respected person he knew and he didn't want to see her so dissolute. Qian Shui told the guy that he was a strange person and said that she was tired, and then she suddenly collapsed next to Chiu Lin and fell asleep. Chiu Lin thought that he could not bear her bad mood after waking up and thought that it looked like he was in for a sleepless night. Meanwhile, Lian came to his father and asked for his forgiveness and said that he had complicated and ruined everything by disappointing the girl. Lian said that this bastard Chiu Lin was to blame for everything and said that if it weren't for this guy, he would have entered into a relationship with Qian Shui a long time ago. But suddenly Lian's father kicked him and asked if he seriously didn't understand what he really wanted from him because he was talking some nonsense. The father said that he asked him to win her favor and asked if the idea of befriending her had never occurred to him at all. Lian asked his father why he needed to waste energy on friendship with a woman and he would not engage in such nonsense because he was a man. But suddenly his father got angry and asked if he was also going to contradict him and immediately kicked him in his son's face. The father told Lian how naive he was and asked how he could have such a stupid and worthless son. The father scolded his son for the fact that all he did was date different girls all day long and asked if he knew who Qian Shui was. The father said that she was the daughter of the head of the clan of the Soul of the Night and asked if by insulting her he wanted to bring his father to the grave. Lian couldn't believe it and told his father that she was an ordinary starving woman and not a princess of the Night Soul clan. The father said that he only recently had a chance to find out and as soon as he found out about her unusual past, he immediately asked him to make friends with her. The father said that Lian should have corrected her attitude towards him and begged her for forgiveness, and finally his father added and told his son, "What did this boy Chiu Lin have to learn that even if the stupid son of Baden made a mistake, he still had no right to raise a hand against him?" The father said that this stupid boy Chiu Lin needs to be taught a lesson and said that no one dares to tarnish the reputation of the Baden family. After this conversation, Lian took a shower and told the girl that he was in a great mood, but suddenly he noticed that someone was done with this girl. Lian was surprised and did not understand what happened there, but suddenly it seemed to him that there was someone in the room and that there really was a monster standing behind him. And some time later in the morning, Qian Shui woke up and thought that she seemed to have drunk too much last night. And then Chiu Lin approached her and said that he bought breakfast and asked her to eat. He said he bought her favorite poached eggs. But suddenly the girl looked at him in surprise and threw a pillow right in his face and asked how he got into her room. The girl asked Chiu Lin to explain to her in detail what happened last night because she did not remember anything from the past events. But Chiu Lin said that it was difficult to explain and told President Qian Shui that he would take full responsibility. Qian Shui was frightened by these words and asked why he would take responsibility and asked him to immediately explain to her everything that happened. Chiu Lin smiled and said that he would take responsibility for the group because last night she held his hand and praised him. Chiu Lin said that she called him the only hope of the Thousand Snow group, which made him feel very uneasy. The girl asked if she had said anything strange, but the guy told her that she told him that he could become her deputy. Qian Shui smiled and said that there were only 2 people in their group. She said that it was possible, but first they needed to attract people to their group. The girl said that this time they need to be careful while searching for suitable candidates. Chiu Lin said that he will take on this task. Finally, she asked not to come into her room again. Chiu Lin thought that she really didn't remember anything from what happened last night. Qian Shui asked the guy to go with her and see what task she could take with a reward. Chiu Lin agreed with her. Meanwhile, Li An's butler knocked on his room and asked the young master to get up and go have breakfast. But suddenly, when he opened the door, the butler found Li An's dead body in the bed with the sign of 1,000 snows on his chest. Meanwhile, Chiu Lin and Qian Shui looked at all possible tasks, looking for something interesting and with a great reward. The girl said that all the tasks were somehow cheap and their implementation was completely unprofitable, but Chiu Lin noticed one task and asked how about this. This task was to kill a rank 7 shadow dragon. Chiu Lin said that if I could not complete this task, then they would earn 10,000 gold. The girl said that it was too dangerous for them and Chiu Lin replied that with his current strength it would be difficult to defeat him but they should try. But suddenly a guy appeared there. he was dragging a shadow dragon with him, and all the people looked at it and were in complete shock. This guy went up to the board with the tasks and, after searching, found the same task and tore out the task about the shadow dragon from there and walked away. Qiu Lin looked at all this, and Qian Shui asked him if he was okay and asked who this guy with the shadow dragon was. Qiu Lin answered her and said that it was the master. Qiu Lin said that it looks like it will be very difficult for them to find a suitable task today. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin and Qian Shui watched as the same guy brought the dragon to the man and waited for his reward. The man was surprised and said that this task to kill the shadow dragon was posted less than 4 hours ago. Corrected the guy, had he really already completed it? The man asked the guy if he could do it alone without a team, but the guy said that he was in a hurry and demanded that they give him the money quickly. The man agreed with the guy and asked him whether he would take the reward in cash or by card. The guy replied that the card would do. The man congratulated the adventurer on completing the task of killing the shadow dragon and receiving 10,000 gold with a card. The people behind him were talking about how he specialized in stealing monsters, and they were wondering if he had stolen a shadow dragon from someone too. But the guy heard these conversations and threw his card at one of them and knocked him out. He said that most of all he hates those who slander him. The guy took his magic card back and said that not only was this fool talking all sorts of nonsense about him, but he had also smeared his magic card. But suddenly, Qian Shui fell to the ground. She said she was dizzy and seemed to have a thing for muscular men. The girl asked Qiu Lin to go and look at the task board again, and in the meantime she would sit for a while and take a breath. The guy asked her if he should take her to the nearest hotel so she could come to her senses, but she replied that everything was fine and told him to go. Qiu Lin looked at the quest board and found the only quest with a big reward except for the Shadow Dragon quest. It said that it was necessary to catch a green forest swamp frog, and the reward for this was 7,000 gold. Meanwhile, the butler told the master that an assassination attempt had been made on Li En's life right in his house and he was obliged to avenge him. The father asked the butler if his son could have annoyed anyone. The butler said that the guy was friendly with everyone except Qian Shui's group. Li En's father thought that they could have killed his son, and suddenly he noticed a snowflake and asked the butler what it was. The butler said that it looked like the 1000 Snow Group badge, and he saw the same badge on the young master last time. But the butler added and said that his young master did not like this badge and he returned it back to Qian Shui. And then Li En's father squeezed the badge in his hand so hard that blood gushed out of it. The butler asked the gentleman not to torture himself like that. The father looked at his stupid son with tears in his eyes and asked him to allow his father to show his love for him one last time. Meanwhile, a yellow-skinned bullfrog appeared, and the people who also took this task thought that it had finally appeared to them. The guy asked the girl to take a closer look and asked if there was a reward for her. The girl replied that everything is so and this is the same frog. The guy asked the girl if she had forgotten about her promise. She replied that she remembered everything, and as soon as he completed the task she would become his girlfriend. The guy was delighted and told his girlfriend that he drove and told her to watch him deal with this frog in just 3 minutes. The guy ran up to the frog and hit it in the stomach, and then he felt that the yellow-skinned frog was very dense and strong. And then the guy thought and realized that he would have to show more strength, and he used his skill called Combat Aura Covering. The girl was surprised when she saw this because only true experienced warriors who had reached the 7th rank could use this ability. The guy looked at the girl and told her that she really understood this and said that he would expand her horizons even more. The guy wanted to attack the frog, but to his great surprise, the frog threw him to the ground without any problems with one blow. The girl asked the guy if he was okay. The guy asked her if she told him that the frog was slow and did not attack people. The girl replied that it was written that way on the internet and she really didn't know that there was a mistake. The guy asked if she really wanted to deceive him. The bullfrog continued to attack the guy, but the guy asked him not to underestimate him, and suddenly he hit the frog in her eye. The guy continued to strike the frog 100 times, but suddenly the frog swelled up and stuck out its tongue and a green frog appeared there. The guy was surprised that he encountered a green forest marsh frog there, and now the guy understood everything that was interesting to him. The guy thought that it was not surprising that the yellow-skinned frog was so fast because it was parasitized by a green swamp frog. The green frog was also known as a support frog that specialized in parasitizing certain animals and helping them increase their fighting potential. And it was thanks to her that the yellow-skinned bullfrog was able to develop such speed because this frog belonged to this particular subspecies of monsters. But the guy remembered that the swamp frog had one special feature, and this frog had mental retardation. When she fell to the ground, the guy said that this was exactly what he expected from the stupidest frog monster. He took it in his hands and said that they would give much more for it. The guy asked Xiao Yu to bring him a cultivation vessel. He put the frog there and the frog immediately froze in place and did not move. The guy said that everything was fine because this monster cost 7,000 gold. The girl was surprised whether this frog was so valuable. The guy said that he was rich and now he would take her to a hotel and feed her food from the best ingredients and buy her the most expensive things. The girl thanked the guy for taking such care of her, and then the girl told Brother Ian that there was someone behind her back. And when he turned around, the same guy with the dragon was standing there. He asked me to give him this green frog that he was holding in his hand. And then suddenly Brother Ian hit this guy on the nose and asked him who he was and why he sneaked up on him so quietly. And this guy hit Brother Ian back. Ian felt the strength of this guy and thought that this guy was in no way inferior to him in strength. Ian told the guy that if he takes even one step in his direction, he will crush the swamp frog and end it once and for all. The guy who defeated the dragon asked if he really wanted to scare him and asked Ian what he wanted to offer him because he was ready to listen to everything. Ian asked Xiao Yu to bring him a fanny pack. The girl immediately fulfilled his instructions and threw the same bag to Brother Inya. Ian placed the frog in this bag and said that this bag was connected to the owner by blood, and if the guy wanted to take it away, it would explode along with the frog. Ian told the guy that if he wanted to take the swamp frog from him, then they had to follow the rules of the Divine King mainland. Ian thought for a while and offered the guy a fair bet and asked if he agreed with him. The guy instantly agreed with him. And after that, Ian said that his bet was a swamp frog and asked the guy to make her an equal bet so that everything would be fair. The guy asked Ian if he really considered this frog equal to the thing he wanted to offer and took out a card with 10,000 gold. Ian was surprised by such a bet, and the girl told Brother Ian that if he wins, they will become rich. Ian thought that he was really that lucky. The guy asked Ian if he really thought that he would defeat him, and he replied that he needed to try and immediately kicked, but the guy blocked his blow. Ian continued to hit the guy, but the guy didn't feel anything and told Ian that he had strength but his accuracy was very poor. Ian laughed at his words and told him that a minute ago he was bleeding and why was he now standing in front of him and giving him advice. And at that second the guy struck Ian with a lightning speed, and then he realized that this guy was very dexterous and faster than himself. Meanwhile, the battle between the master and Ian continued. Ian couldn't hit him and that guy smashed him into one gate. Ian said that he was not careful because he did not think that this guy would be so strong, but the guy told him that he was just a weakling. Ian thought what he could do to him and asked Xiao Yu to heal him and said that he would no longer last with this warrior. Xiao Yu told him that she would use magic to heal him, but suddenly Xiao Yu dropped her wand from her hands. The girl burst into tears and said that her hand was shaking very much and that's why she couldn't hold this magic wand in her hands. Ian yelled at her and asked if she could be more serious now and asked if she was an actress sent by the enemy. The guy told Ian that he shouldn't have been distracted during the fight and instantly dealt a powerful blow that sent Ian flying to the side. The guy smiled and told Xiao Yu that she could treat him if she wanted because he never fought with women or beat them. Ian wanted to deliver his blows, but the guy asked if he really called these weak pillows fists, because it was difficult to call them blows. And then Xiao Yu asked Ian to hold on and began to read her spell and asked the deity Rakia to grant her the power to heal her comrade. The girl read a spell and asked for the power of love that moves in a circle to save her comrade and heal him of all kinds of injuries. But suddenly she aimed that healing ray at the wrong guy. The guy said that they are good people and they are good at healing their own enemy. The girl asked for forgiveness and said that she did not control the distance. Ian thought how could he unite in a group with such a person. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin searched one frog after another. Qian Shui told him that the swamp frog is almost the same size as a regular frog. And the only difference between them was the color of their eyes. The swamp frog had a pair of small scaly wings around its eyes. Qiu Lin asked to look for frogs in another place and Qian Shui said that there was a huge field outside the frog area. The girl advised Qiu Lin to look for frogs in this field and said that maybe they would still be lucky and they would find this monster. But suddenly Qian Shui noticed that there were people on the field and they were fighting with all their might and did not think of stopping and ending the battle. Qiu Lin watched their battle and said that they were quite resilient. Qian Shui said that the blue-haired guy looked like the one they saw at the blackboard. And then that same blue-haired guy began to completely beat and dominate Yin. He gave him no mercy and continued to beat him with all his might. President Qian Shui told the guy to stop and said that he would beat this guy to pieces. Qiu Lin thought that she had a strong sense of justice. But the guy didn't listen to her and still dealt the final crushing blow to his opponent and said that he should have listened to him right away. The guy said that Yin shouldn't have made the Divine King's bet with him since he was such a weak person and couldn't resist. The guy took a frog out of his bag and said that in the end this stupid man not only lost the fight but also lost his frog. And seeing the frog, Qian Shui screamed that this was the same swamp frog that they were looking for. The guy asked if she was interested in her too. The guy threw a flask with a frog and suddenly it disappeared. The guy asked them if they would try to take this swamp monster away from him. Qian Shui wondered if the blue flask had disappeared. Qiu Lin replied that she did not disappear at all and the guy just hit her in his ring. The guy was surprised and said that it was not often possible to meet a knowledgeable person and he was glad to finally see such a person. The guy said that this was a spatial ring that recognized the owner as blood. He said that they wouldn't get the swamp frog even if they took the ring from him. The guy said that he could give them the frog if they provide something of equal value to him and make a Divine King's bet with him. The guy told Qiu Lin that if he defeats him, he will give them the swamp frog. Qian Shui told Qiu Lin that it was not worth it and they could not defeat him. Qiu Lin told the leader that they could not give up so easily and said that if they did not complete the task, then their group would earn a bad reputation which would negatively affect them. Qiu Lin added that if their group wanted to leave the beginner town and go to a better place, then they had to complete every task. But the girl replied that they couldn't risk that much and besides, they didn't have anything equivalent to make a bet with this guy. Qiu Lin asked the girl how did she know if they were taking risks or not if they didn't even try to do anything and took out the beast pill and asked the head to look at it. Qian Shui asked the guy what this mysterious shiny ball was. Qiu Lin said that this is an inner pill purified by a poisonous sea serpent. The guy asked Qiu Lin if he really had an inner pill and asked him to let him take a closer look at this beautiful thing. Qiu Lin gave him the pill and said that he could look at it as much as he wanted. Qian Shui asked him if he thought carefully about what he did just now. Qian Shui asked if this was right because he just gave the pill directly into his hands. Qiu Lin replied that everything was fine because he had already applied his blood to her and was her master. The guy looked carefully at its shine and magnificent energy fluctuations and realized that this pill was of the highest class and it was amazing. The guy told Qiu Lin that he could offer him a swamp frog for it and give him 50,000 gold in addition and asked if he wanted to exchange. Qian Shui was surprised by the amount mentioned and then the guy realized that 50,000 gold was a considerable amount for their small group. Qiu Lin asked the head not to let her fool him and said that putting it up for auction could earn at least 200,000 gold. Qian Shui was surprised and asked Qiu Lin if he had been carrying around an object worth 200,000 gold all the time and what was he thinking about. The guy told Qiu Lin that talking a lot was not always useful and he had no idea where he managed to get such an inner pill. But the guy added and said that having met him, his luck had come to an end because today he would have lost such a magnificent thing. Qiu Lin asked if it would be enough for a bet and if it was enough then they could proceed to what they had intended all this time. The guy told Qiu Lin that he was great for putting her as a bet anyway and finally added that he would regret this decision. Qiu Lin asked President Qian Shui to step aside so that they would not accidentally hit her because he was very worried about her safety. Qian Shui asked Qiu Lin if he had gone crazy because betting 200,000 gold against 7,000 was complete madness on his part. But Qiu Lin asked the head not to worry and said that he would never lose. Qian Shui said that if he loses, she will never forgive him for it. After that, they started fighting and the guy quickly ran up to Qiu Lin and wanted to kick him, but he parried his blow. The guy said it was pretty good. And with the next blow, the guy hit Qiu Lin in the stomach, but suddenly, immediately after that, Qiu Lin spat that same green liquid in his eyes. The guy was shocked and asked Qiu Lin what he did because he didn't see anything and said that how could he resort to such a vile technique. Qiu Lin told him that on this continent one could use any technique to win and asked what was so vile about it. The guy saw almost nothing and so he decided to completely close his eyes. he called Qiu Lin a scoundrel and said that he would finish him anyway. Qiu Lin wanted to finish off this guy quickly and attacked him from all sides, but to Qiu Lin's surprise, this guy defended himself from his blows with his eyes closed. The guy responded to Qiu Lin with his blows and fought with him on equal terms, but when he finally wanted to deal with Qiu Lin, he used his skill. The guy was surprised and asked if Qiu Lin really had the skill of stomping an iron-horned yak, and at that moment Qiu Lin dealt a powerful blow to his stomach. Their battle went on for a very long time and eventually they simultaneously knocked each other down and fell to the ground together from the damage they received. The guy told Qiu Lin that he was quite difficult to deal with, but by then his vision had been restored and he could see his opponent clearly. The guy told Qiu Lin that his cunning ability to blind his opponent was capable of blinding a person for a maximum of 1 minute and no more. This fighter told Qiu Lin that he was a rather strange guy and asked him how many monster abilities he had. The guy said that he knew that there were many geniuses in this world and asked Qiu Lin if this ability was his talent. Qiu Lin thought that his wounds were good and he also had several broken ribs, but everything went better than he expected. After all, he achieved his goal and used up part of his opponent's strength, and this fighter had already slowed down significantly and began to throw his blows more slowly. But suddenly Qiu Lin swallowed the pill and told his opponent that he had fully recovered from his injuries and was 100% ready for the fight. Qiu Lin thought that because of the inner pill, his magic increased to the 4th level, but it was worth nothing to this guy. And if we add his rank 8 attack power to Qiu Lin's magic, then he could at least injure his opponent but no more. And then suddenly Qiu Lin's hands turned into huge pointed cobblestones and he told his opponent that he was ready for the second round. Qiu Lin jumped on him and then the guy realized that Qiu Lin had increased the mass of his body but lost his speed and missed, but suddenly he cut his face. Qiu Lin asked his opponent if he really thought that he might have missed. The guy smiled and told Qiu Lin that he was full of surprises. But the guy said that it was time to stop playing games and told Qiu Lin that he was really talented, but he just loved destroying guys like him. But suddenly, under the guy's feet, thorns grew from the ground. The guy miraculously jumped over and told Qiu Lin that he was not a genius but an ordinary swindler. Qiu Lin rushed to finish off the guy, but with his blow he broke the cobblestones on Qiu Lin's hands and said that now he had nowhere to run and now he would finish him off. The guy asked Qiu Lin if he really thought that he was about to defeat him, but suddenly he noticed the spike stuck on your leg. The guy asked Qiu Lin when he managed to do this. Qiu Lin said that he had seen him fight and he always put all his strength into his punches. Qiu Lin added that from the moment the battle began, he had only one goal and that was to deprive him of the ability to move and injure his legs. And then Qiu Lin ran up to him and wanted to strike, but the guy thought that he was really going to strike such a straightforward blow. The guy was happy and thought that he would now hold his blow and then redirect the force of the blow to the other leg and deal him a fatal blow. But suddenly Qiu Lin approached his opponent and struck him between the legs. The guy did not expect such a blow and felt hellish pain. And then the guy fell to the ground and a swamp frog fell out of his hands. Qiu Lin said that he won their argument and now takes the swamp frog. The guy asked Qiu Lin to stand for a minute and asked if he dared to answer him what group he was from so that they could fight another time. Qiu Lin asked the guy if he was a fool and said that he didn't want to tell him about it so as not to expect revenge from him in the future and said goodbye to the guy. The guy asked Qiu Lin if he was a man and why he was scared and said that if he considered himself a man, then he had nothing to be afraid of, but Qiu Lin said that he didn't care. Qian Shui was delighted and told Qiu Lin that he was so cool and told him that he was indeed the only hope of the Thousand Snow group. Qian Shui said that she admires him more and more. Qiu Lin said that they had the frog and the task was successfully completed. Qian Shui said that Qiu Lin was such an impenetrable person and she didn't know how strong he was. She said she felt safe with him. The girl said that as soon as they received the reward, she promised that in the evening she would arrange a real feast for him and take good care of him. Qian Shui said that she was in a great mood because everything went smoothly. Qiu Lin told her that he was just lucky this time. The guy looked at them with tears in his eyes and told Qiu Lin that he remembered him and one day he would repay him for the humiliation he suffered today. After that, Qian Shui and Qiu Lin approached Xiao Yu and her injured boyfriend. Xiao Yu asked Yin's brother for forgiveness and said that she could not protect him. Xiao Yu said that she would use the remnants of her magic to heal him. She cried and hoped that a miracle would happen and everything would be okay with him. When Chiu Lin saw Xiaoyu, he was very surprised because now everything was different from his past life since he had not met her here. Chiu Lin approached Xiaoyu and asked her if she would allow him to look at her wounded brother. He said he could help her heal him. Xiaoyu asked him who he was and Chiu Lin replied that he was a miracle and he took out a pill and then Xiaoyu asked him what he was doing. Chiu Lin brought the pill to the guy's body and asked Xiaoyu to watch carefully. She asked what he was doing with it but he asked to be quiet and said that he was concentrating. And suddenly Brother Yin's breathing returned and he asked Xiaoyu where he was. Xiaoyu hugged him and said that she was very scared for him and was glad that he was okay. But suddenly Yin pushed her away and asked her how she had the courage to show up in front of him and told her to quickly get out of there and not pester him. He asked Xiaoyu if her conscience was gnawing at her for what had happened and said that in her place he would have already dug a hole and, out of shame, would have buried himself there alive. Yin said that how did he manage to do such garbage and take into his group an inexperienced and stupid girl who was of no use. He told her to get out of there and go as far as she could and said that he never wanted to see her or even hear about her again in his life. Xiaoyu told him that she told him from the very beginning that she was very weak and asked why he himself agreed to take her into his group if he was not sure of this. He said that he only took her on the team because of her pretty face. He thought that the appearance of the divine king on the mainland was of no use, and why did he take her? Yin gave her advice and asked her to find a place where there would be no one and commit suicide and said that if she continued to live, she would harm other people. Xiaoyu began to cry from such words, but suddenly a strong blow from Chiu Lin's fist suddenly flew across Yin's face and from this he instantly collapsed to the ground. Chiu Lin told him that he was giving him two options to choose from. The first option was that he should immediately ask Xiaoyu for forgiveness. And the second option was that he could continue to wallow there as before and Chiu Lin would happily beat him for his dirty language. Yin asked Chiu Lin who he was and why he defended this fool. Yin said that he was lucky today and met a group of idiots. But suddenly, after these words, Qian Shui, approaching him, kicked him in his vile face so hard that he flew somewhere to the side. Qian Shui asked the guy how he dared to hit the girl and said that most of all she hated losers like him and couldn't stand them. Yin asked them if they had mixed up anything and how they could beat a good person without understanding the situation, because he was the victim. Xiaoyu cried and said that he was right and she was too weak and he suffered from the fact that she could not help him in difficult times and harmed him. Qian Shui told Yin that he decided to pick up the girl by taking her with him to fight monsters, and as soon as he blew it, the girl immediately became guilty. President Qian Shui told Yin that he was a worthless and weak person and he should have been ashamed to utter such a responsible word as a comrade. Qian Shui asked Chiu Lin to teach this scoundrel a good lesson, and she had to talk and calm down that girl whom Yin offended a couple of minutes ago. Yin asked who they were and why they were minding their own business. He said that he was not guilty of anything and therefore did not understand why they did this to him. Chiu Lin asked him, so it turns out he didn't offend her at all and began to lift stones next to Yin. Yin didn't know what was happening there. Chiu Lin said that weakness for a man would be considered a sin and if he did not have enough strength there was no need to go beyond his capabilities. Yin told Chiu Lin that he really thought he was strong. Chiu Lin replied that it didn't matter because the important thing was that he was really stronger than him. Chiu Lin directed the stones in his direction and they turned into spears and pierced very close to Yin. Yin was very frightened by this unexpected action. Yin asked Chiu Lin to finish him off if he had the opportunity and said that he did not deceive anyone. Chiu Lin realized that it was useless to be tough with him. Chiu Lin said that as a man he respects him and said that he would resort to another method. Yin said that no matter what he did, he would remain unconvinced. Meanwhile, Qian Shui approached Xiaoyu and asked her to wipe away her tears and not cry anymore, because she shouldn't shed tears over such men. Xiaoyu asked her who she was. Qian Shui answered and said that she was the head of the Thousand Snows group and her name was Qian Shui. She was glad to meet her. Qian Shui said that she was really angry when she saw that such a bastard was bullying her. Xiaoyu thanked her for such kindness. Qian Shui asked if she was interested in joining their group, especially since they were just looking for comrades. Xiaoyu asked if they would accept someone like her. Qian Shui hugged her and said that they had the invincible Chiu Lin on their team, so she had nothing to fear and that she perceived her as a younger sister. Head Qian Shui said that from now on they will protect this sweet girl from all the pain and will not allow anyone to hurt the cutest member of their group. And then Chiu Lin approached the head and she asked him how he dealt with that man. Chiu Lin said that he turned out to be very stubborn. Qian Shui said that if conventional methods did not work and thought how about using unconventional methods to teach him a lesson. Chiu Lin smiled and said that he knew one way to use the swamp frog. Qian Shui asked Xiao Yu if she wanted to see how Chiu Lin would punish that scoundrel. Xiao Yu agreed with her but asked them not to be very cruel to him and said that what happened was partly her fault. Qian Shui asked her not to worry and said that they were only going to force him to apologize and did not want to hurt him in any way. They approached Yin and he asked Xiao Yu if she was a demon and whether she was pleased to watch how these people mocked him. Meanwhile, Chiu Lin took out a frog and Yin asked him what he wanted to do with it and said that he could happily use any tricks. Chiu Lin said that he would like to see how long he could continue to remain so stubborn, and suddenly the frog spat some kind of liquid in his face. Yin asked the guy to stop doing this and asked if he really had no brains and why they targeted him and if there was a reason for this. Chiu Lin asked him if he still didn't understand anything and asked him to let him ask him a few questions so that it would become clear to him why they did this. Chiu Lin asked the guy why he hit the yellow-haired girl Xiao Yu and what kind of relationship there was between them because they were not just teammates. Yin said that she was just a girl he recently got himself. He said that he was a blind man and fell in love with her a long time ago. Chiu Lin asked so it means they were a couple and thought that his guesses turned out to be correct because he began to remember what happened in a past life. After all, in their previous life, they only met Xiao Yu after 3 months. Then the guy abandoned her and she was sitting somewhere in the corner of the forest, and after Qian Shui sheltered her she became their comrade. Chiu Lin still remembered the despair in her eyes when he first saw her because it was exactly the same as he had before he met the head of Qian Shui. Chiu Lin thought that maybe in a past life he had never met her boyfriend, but if we compare the time before and after, it was almost certainly the one whom he cured with the internal pill. And now that he remembered this, he felt sorry for Xiao Yu and thought that maybe he shouldn't have saved this ungrateful bastard. Chiu Lin thought that since everything had come to this, he had to show her what this man really was like, because a short pain is better than a long one. Chiu Lin told the guy that she was his girlfriend and he hit her for her outstanding abilities, was rude to her and then left her. They just wanted him to apologize, and what was wrong with that? Yin said that he almost died because of her. Chiu Lin asked him if he knew why he was still alive and nothing worse happened to him. Chiu Lin said that there was a big difference in strength between Lin and the blue-haired guy, and even if Xiao Yu had supported him, did he really think that he could defeat him? Chiu Lin told the guy that when he was beaten half to death, she exhausted all her magical power for his sake and helped save his life. Chiu Lin added that if she had not been sincere with him, she would now be like a crying child sobbing and treating him. But Xiao Yu's sincerity was trampled by his cold slap and ruthless refusal, and her one mistake in battle was enough for him to abandon her. This event made Chiu Lin think about why he was running after her at all and whether he ever really liked her and whether he had feelings for her. Yin smiled and asked if he really thought that he seriously loved her and said that how could he like trash like her and hurt the girl with such words. Xiao Yu asked Brother Yin what he just said and thought that all his words about love and compliments addressed to her were just lies. Yin said that she was a girl he picked out of boredom for fun, and all he said was that men sometimes needed to satisfy their physiological needs. The guy told Chiu Lin that if he liked this girl so much, then he could take her for himself, because now he was just sick of looking at her. Chiu Lin told the guy that he was done with the questions. He had nothing else to talk about with such a person and he didn't care whether he repented or not. Chiu Lin said goodbye to him and Yin thought what a bastard this guy was because he didn't even free him, but he didn't care because the head had to come for him to save him. Chiu Lin approached the girls and asked for forgiveness for the delay. Qian Shui was curious and asked what he sprayed on this guy's face. Chiu Lin said that these were the bodily fluids of a swamp frog, because now in the spring it was the mating season of the monster frogs and it was time to reproduce. The marsh frog's bodily fluids would attract frogs of the opposite sex and all female frogs would be attracted to them like a magnet. Chiu Lin said that they would help him satisfy his physiological needs, as this guy put it to him earlier. And suddenly a frog appeared in front of Yin. Yin thought what this vile frog had forgotten, but suddenly she jumped on him with kisses. And then a whole crowd of female frogs appeared in front of him. Yin admitted his guilt and begged Chiu Lin to release him and he promised that he would reform. Head Qian Shui looked at all this and said that it was too funny and asked Xiao Yu to just look at the expression on this guy's face. Qiu Lin asked Xiao Yu if she thought this was a strong enough punishment for this guy because he clearly deserved much more punishment. Qiu Lin told her that if she was satisfied with her, then he could easily come up with other punishments because the most important thing is that she be happy. Xiao Yu thought that he really did this to him on purpose to cheer her up. She thought that they really wanted to include her in their group and told them to let him go. Qiu Lin agreed with her and released her. He said that it looks like it really went too far and the frogs even managed to kiss that guy on the lips. And then suddenly Xiao Yu started laughing non-stop. She laughed and couldn't stop and asked Qiu Lin why he was so funny. Xiao Yu was grateful to Qiu Ling for showing her the worthlessness of this scumbag, and she also thanked him for showing her who she was in the eyes of such scumbags. Qiu Lin thought that Xiao Yu was as sincere as before. He asked her if she could not face with dignity the people who showed concern for her. Xiao Yu asked the guy not to talk about her as if he knew her well. After all, she was number one among the losers and taking her on the team was not the best idea. Finally, Xiao Yu said that the people who joined her in the group ended very badly and therefore it was better for her to just disappear from there, and after these words she ran somewhere. Qian Shui thought that Xiao Yu was a very strange girl. Qiu Lin replied that the breakup hit her too hard but she was coping well. Qiu Lin said that the more Xiao Yu refuses them, the more it will mean that she likes them, and he thought that she would join them. Qiu Lin said that due to her lack of self-confidence, Xiao Yu could not be completely sincere with herself in front of people who were kind to her. The head of Qian Shui asked the guy why he talked about her as if he knew her well and asked if they really already knew each other. Qiu Lin said that they met her a long time ago and said that she was a kind girl. Qian Shui replied that if he talked about her like that, then she started to like her. Qian Shui said that if they met her again, they would definitely need to invite her to the group, but she had the feeling that everyone on the street would laugh at her. Qiu Lin said that she didn't have to worry about this and he knew where to find her. Qian Shui agreed with him and asked him to quickly go and submit the assignment to start work. Meanwhile, Lian's father went down into some cave. There was a tied-up guy sitting there and this guy's name was Rubus, and his father told him that they hadn't seen him for a long time. His father told Rubus that his younger brother Lian was killed in his home last night. Rubus sat silently and did not react to his words. The father was surprised and asked if he really wouldn't react to the news of the death of his own brother because it was a tragedy for their family. The father said that this was not surprising because Rubus was initially a cold-blooded and ruthless monster devoid of any feelings. But his father added that his last regret was that he allowed that woman to give birth to such a terrible child as Rubus. And suddenly Rubus opened his eyes and smiled. The father asked if he managed to whet his interest and asked if he wanted to know the details. Rubus asked the stinking old man what he needed from him. He told his father that if he wanted to tell him something and told him to say it right away. The father said that he could tell Rubus about his mother, but first he had to avenge his son, after which he would assist in his return to his mother. Rubus told his father that he must understand what result his deception would lead to and ordered his father to tell him who he needed to kill this time. The father took out a photo of Qiu Lin and Qian Shui from his pocket and threw it towards Rubus and said that it would be necessary to finish off these two young people. Rubus looked at the photo and said that only two people were able to drive the head of the Bodin family into a corner and that he had to turn to his illegitimate son. Rubus said that they almost certainly had an unusual origin because his father could not offend them and solve the problem on his own. The father said that the boy had no support because he was the son of an ordinary blacksmith, but with the girl everything was much more complicated. The father said that this girl was the daughter of the most powerful family at the moment. She was the daughter of the head of the Night Soul clan. Rubus asked what the princess of the Soul of the Night clan forgot there, and was she really just bored and that's why she was looking for a thrill. Father said that he shouldn't have known any special details, but he really wanted him to get rid of these two once and for all and do everything quietly, so that no one in the outside world knows that they are connected with him. Rubus answered his father and said that he never wanted to be associated with a person like him. Meanwhile, Qian Shui and Qiu Lin bring the frog to the man. The man looked at it and was convinced that it was actually a swamp frog. The man asked how they wanted to receive a reward in cash or a magic card. Qiu Lin said that they need a map. The man gave them a map and said that he would be glad to meet them again. Qian Shui was happy and said that they finally had money. Qiu Lin asked her how she was going to use this money. Head Qian Shui replied that she wanted to buy equipment and said that they would go to the blacksmith right away. Qiu Lin asked her to remember to buy a protective potion this time. But unexpectedly, at this moment, Xiao Yu was quietly watching them. Chiu Lin noticed her and asked the head to go ahead and said that he would soon catch up with her. Head Qian Shui was surprised and asked what he wanted to do. Chiu Lin told her that he was going to sort something out once and for all. The head of Qian Shui asked the guy when he would return because she was going to prepare a hearty dinner for him. Chiu Lin asked her to prepare some more utensils. Qian Shui asked what he meant. Chiu Lin said that he was talking about Xiao Yu and said that he was now following them. Qian Shui asked if he was sure it was her. Qian Shui asked if he was going to bring her to their group and asked him to remember to tell her about the benefits of their group. Chiu Lin said that he would talk to her properly. But then Qian Shui told the guy that as far as she remembered, she still had not paid him his salary from the group. Chiu Lin asked what she wanted to do. Qian Shui said that now is the right time to deal with this debt and asking him not to move. She suddenly kissed Chiu Lin. Xiao Yu looked at everything that was happening from the outside and thought it was very cute and realized that this was what the relationship really was between them. Qian Shui told Chiu Lin that from now on he was only her boyfriend and now he could not date his sister without her permission. She asked Chiu Lin if he understood everything. Qian Shui told the guy that she would go and asked him not to forget to come back early and said that she would wait for him until he returned. Chiu Lin fell to the ground in sudden excitement after the kiss. He thought that the head of Qian Shui liked him, but he didn't know what to do next. After all, he just wanted to help her fulfill her dream by being nearby. He thought that he would tell her the words that he wanted to say only when she fulfilled her dream. Chiu Lin didn't understand what to do because it was too early for him to ensure her safety and protect her from all sorts of problems. Xiao Yu looked intently at the guy and didn't understand if he was really one of those people who talk to themselves, but suddenly Chiu Lin disappeared. And suddenly Chiu Lin appeared behind Xiao Yu and asked her if she was spying on who and where this young guy was. Xiao Yu asked the guy when he managed to appear behind her. The guy said that he appeared there when she was fascinated by life. Chiu Lin asked her, after all, she had thought about everything about their group's proposal. Xiao Yu didn't understand what he was asking and asked what he meant. Xiao Yu said that she was only there to tell him not to show himself there again because Brother Yin and the head of the mountain group were looking for him. Chiu Lin smiled and asked if she was worried about him. Xiao Yu replied that he got into this because of her and she was obliged to help him. Xiao Yu said that she could no longer remain in Yin's group because their leader asked her to pay a commission of 10,000 gold. Chiu Lin thought that this was a robbery in broad daylight, and leaving the group could not cost 10,000 gold. The guy felt very sorry for Xiao Yu. And suddenly Chiu Lin said that let them continue to look for him. If they find him, he will tell them the reason why they cannot help but let her go from the group. Xiao Yu was surprised and asked if he was sick and if he knew what kind of person the head of her group was and asked the guy not to even think about bothering him. Chiu Lin told her that before he himself was just like her, a weakling who was bullied by everyone, his friends abandoned him and then he thought that there were no good people on this continent. But he said that then he changed and understood the meaning of the word comrade and asked the girl that deep down in her heart she also wanted to find a reliable comrade. Xiao Yu asked the guy not to talk about her as if he knew her well, but Chiu Lin answered her that he really knew everything about her very well and did not deceive her. Chiu Lin said that her name was Xiao Yu and she was from the Kurt clan and arrived to the Divine King mainland 11 years ago following her brother. But later, in order to succeed, her brother left the beginner city and went on a higher level journey, but due to the fact that she could not catch up with her brother in level, he left her there. Chiu Lin said that this is why she was left alone without real comrades. He also added that many of the guys were ordinary womanizers who took her on missions purely out of convention. Xiao Yu was surprised and asked the guy how he could know so much information about her. Chiu Lin told her that she herself told him about all this in the recent past. The guy said that they had been comrades for a very long time and asked her to look at the place where he would point his finger and said that he would now provide her with evidence. Chiu Lin said that from that moment on, in that very place, literally 5 seconds later, a silver-haired man and a large man should have appeared with him. Xiao Yu said that this couldn't be, but she was very surprised and was shocked when, 5 seconds later, the same men that Chiu Lin had envisioned appeared in that very place. Eni immediately saw Chiu Lin. Yin pointed his finger at him and said that this was the same guy who showed off in front of the girls. Chiu Lin greeted his old friend. Yin's boss asked him if this was the same guy he had told him about so many times. Yin replied that now he will never forget this guy's face. Chiu Lin said that he had better forget about him on good terms. The boss was surprised and asked Ian if he really couldn't cope with the child. Ian said it was just an accident. The boss called Ian trash and asked him not to justify his shame. The boss approached the guy and asked how he dared to touch a member of his group, Gore. The boss asked Chiu Lin if he realized what the consequences would be, but the guy was not at a loss and answered the boss that he was very interested in finding out what interesting the consequences would be. Xiao Qiu asked the head not to be angry with the guy and said that only she herself was to blame for all this, and if he wanted to punish someone, she asked him to punish her herself. The head told Xiao Qiu that what right did she have to talk to him and said that she was a failure who was not even able to cure her colleague. The head said what kind of conscience she had to have to stand as if nothing had happened in front of him and ordered her to get out of there that very second and never appear in front of him again. But Chiu Lin intervened in their conversation and told the head that the girl would not leave there, but he had to disappear from there because he had already enraged Chiu Lin with his words. The head did not understand anything and asked the guy what he had just told him, but suddenly Chiu Lin approached him and hit him with all his might. Everyone present was shocked by this. Chiu Lin asked Xiao Yu if she was now filled with magic and if she had recovered. The girl replied that she had already fully accumulated strength. Chiu Lin asked if she was able to use her magic at such a close distance and there should be no problem with the treatment. The girl asked why it was necessary to treat him, because if she had cured the head, he would have continued to get it again and again. Chiu Lin said that everything was fine and said that she was still a member of Horace's group and he was still its head. And Chiu Lin continued and said that if she helped the head now, she would act like a true devoted comrade. The guy asked her to consider that this was her way of atonement for her past mistake so that they could not tell her anything about her later. Ian asked Chiu Lin what he was up to, but Chiu Lin advised him not to interfere in their affairs and said that if he took even one step, he would break his leg. Chiu Lin asked the girl to start treatment and suddenly the head immediately stood up and asked Chiu Lin how dare he attack him. The head was furious and told the guy that he wouldn't have been able to hit him if he hadn't been distracted. Chiu Lin told him that there was no need to be distracted during the conversation. Ian asked his boss if he was okay and the boss yelled at him and said that if he told anyone about today's incident he would end his life. The head told Chiu Lin that he was an arrogant boy and asked him if he was ready to die. Chiu Lin didn't answer him and just looked at him silently. The head said that the number one of the Green Lake group, the head of the mountain group, the cold-blooded lion would fight him today. The head wanted to attack Chiu Lin, but he couldn't keep up with this guy because he moved around this room with lightning speed. Chiu Lin stood behind the head and asked if he was fighting with the air. The head got mad and told the guy to go to hell and began to beat him twice as hard. Ian ordered his master to open this guy's skull, but Chiu Lin continued to smash the head into one gate and did not give him a chance. Chiu Lin asked Xiao Yu to stop just standing around and as a magician she should always monitor the condition of her comrades. Xiao Yu should have immediately taken appropriate measures to help her comrade. The girl agreed with Chiu Lin. Meanwhile, Qian Shui was buying the necessary vegetables for dinner at the market. She thought that Chiu Lin was short and she thought it was because of poor nutrition. Qian Shui carefully selected foods and thought that she needed to pay more attention to his diet and let him eat more. The saleswoman told Qian Shui that she had been looking at the products for a long time and asked if she would buy anything or just come to look at everything. Qian Shui told her that it was really difficult for her to be patient a little and asked how she talked to the client and it was impossible to communicate more politely. The saleswoman said that it was her fault but asked her to stop squeezing the products because she noticed that she had crushed several tomatoes. Qian Shui was carrying a whole bag of groceries with her and thought that the groceries were quite heavy and she felt like she had bought too much. She was tired of carrying groceries and sat down on the ground, and she thought that she should have called Chiu Lin with her so that he could carry these heavy purchases home. But suddenly Rubus approached her and asked if she needed help. Qian Shui asked the guy who he was and whether they knew each other before. Rubus said that he was just running past and noticed a worried girl. This man reminded Qian Shui of Lian in some way. The girl said that she didn't need help, but the guy picked up the bag of groceries and carried it somewhere. The girl asked what he was doing. Rubus told her that the lagging Mustang could not move forward alone. Qian Shui asked him what he needed. The girl told him to put the groceries back and asked where he took it all, but Rubus told her that if she didn't go with him, he wouldn't know the way. After all, Rubus himself did not know where to carry all this. Qian Shui said that he was impudent and agreed with his proposal. Rubis brought the groceries to her house and said that it was an honor for him to help the beautiful girl. Qian Shui asked to put food at the door. Qian Shui was very grateful for his help. She thanked him and asked how she could help him. Rubis said that it was an honor for him and he didn't need any thanks because he was always there to help people. To be clear, the girl told Rubis that she hated being in debt to someone, and especially to a stranger. Rubis agreed with her and didn't say that if she insisted, she could treat him to something because he was a little hungry. Qian Shui asked the guy what time he lived in, that for him it was enough just to eat and he didn't demand anything more. The girl asked him to come inside and said that she was going to have a big banquet in the evening. She said her cooking skills were great. Rubis looked at her and said that then he would have to try everything properly and, having tried it himself, he would appreciate its culinary qualities. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin knocked out the poor boss every time, but after that, Qiu Lin asked Xiao Yu to heal him. The girl healed him for the 10th time, but when the head woke up, he asked the girl not to treat him anymore and to stop this madness. The head asked if they were demons because he woke up as if from a nightmare over and over again and in the end he was very tired of it. The head asked Qiu Lin to let him wake up naturally and stop doing this to him and tormenting him with endless pain. The boss said that he, a cold-blooded lion, asked for help for the first time in his life and begged the guy to spare him. Qiu Lin asked him not to refuse treatment. Qiu Lin could agree to his request but only if he told him that he could take Xiao Yu with him. The head asked him if he really just wanted to come in and first she had to pay compensation for leaving in the amount of 10,000 gold. Qiu Lin said that she had recently saved his life 10 times and asked if his life was worth 1,000 gold. He said that if this was not enough, he would continue to deal with him. The head thought and decided that the guy could take her with him without this moment she was a nobody for their group. She said that all her debts were closed. Xiao Yu couldn't believe her ears and asked the head if he really said this seriously. The head told her to get out of there and said that she would only cause harm. Ian asked the head why he was doing this and why he was letting her go. He asked if this girl got off too easily. Ian said that they didn't agree like that because they wanted to kick her out of this mainland, but suddenly the head hit him and told him to shut up. Qiu Lin asked Xiao Yu to go from there and said that they had no need to watch this farce. The girl agreed with the guy and they wanted to leave there. But suddenly the head asked the guy to stay and asked if he wanted to join his group, because his group was currently the strongest in the city of newcomers. The leader told Qiu Lin that if a strong man like him joined them, they would definitely be able to win the inter-group tournament next month. The head continued and said that if he wants to join the game, he will even give it to him instead of the head, because in their group the strong were revered. Qiu Lin said that firstly, he had no idea where he had such confidence to call his group the strongest. And secondly, relying on his place as the head of the group and being the strongest in it, he allowed himself to beat and insult his own comrades. After which they harbored discontent because they could not even afford to open their mouths and speak out about their problems. Qiu Lin asked the head to show more concern for his comrades because the success of his group was based only on their efforts. Finally, Qiu Lin told the head that without love their group would be destroyed and asked him to think about it and they left this place. Meanwhile, the head was wondering whether a group based on love could exist on this continent and isn't it strange? Ian asked the head not to listen to this guy and said that on the mainland only the strong were respected and he was ready to follow him anywhere because of his strength. The head said that he understood everything perfectly, but he was just sorry that he couldn't take advantage of such a strong guy. And the leader said that a person like Qiu Lin, without joining their group, automatically became their #1 enemy. Meanwhile, Rubis sat and enjoyed such a delicious dinner. He ate everything without a trace and told Qian Shui that it was the first time in so many years that he had such a luxurious dinner. Qian Shui walked up to Rubis and carried a huge piglet to the table. She said that she baked it especially for Qiu Lin and that he had grown properly. But suddenly she saw empty plates on the table and asked where all the food had gone. Rubis said that everything was very tasty and he couldn't resist. Rubis said that if there was anything left to eat, she should have carried the food because his stomach was still empty. Rubis said that didn't they agree that she would satisfy his appetite in taking the pig. Rubis ate it whole. Rubis said that he was jealous of this Qiu Lin because not only did he get such a beauty, but in addition she knew how to cook perfectly. Qian Shui called the guy an ignorant person and told him to leave immediately and said that he was not welcome there. Rubis said that being cruel and intimidating is what she had, the hospitality of a miss from the Night Soul clan to the head of Qian Shui. Qian Shui was surprised because this guy knew a lot of information. She asked who he was and who sent him. Rubis said that someone asked him to take her life, but he did not want to kill a good and good-natured person because of her mistake. And so he wanted to confirm one point and showed the girl a photo of Lian. He asked if she recognized this yellow-haired boy. Qian Shui looked at the photo and asked if it was Lian and if they were acquaintances and if they knew each other well with Rubis. Rubis said that at this dinner he got along better with her than with Lian and said that they did not have the best relationship with this guy. Rubis asked the girl if she really didn't know that he was dead. Qian Shui froze in shock and asked if Lian was no longer there. Rubis took out a snowflake and said that she should have been familiar with this icon. He said that he was found next to a dead body. Qian Shui thought that this was not the badge she gave to Qiu Ling, but she was wondering how it ended up with Lian. The girl realized that something happened after she got drunk last night. She wondered if Qiu Lin really killed Lian while she was passed out. Qian Shui admitted to Rubis that this was her badge and asked the guy what he would do with her now after learning this information. Rubis was surprised and asked if she really confessed so easily. He thought he would have to resort to torture and interrogation. Rubis said that he could torture her easily. The girl told him that he was crazy, but Rubis said that he was just a criminal. Qian Shui asked the guy what he needed, but Rubis said that today's prepared dishes were delicious. Rubis said that from the very beginning he was tormented by one question and asked who was tastier than Qian Shui or the horse she cooked. He asked Qian Shui what she tasted like and said that he would answer her this question, and suddenly Rubis wanted to bite her. But suddenly, Qian Shui shot at Rubis with her weapon. The arrow got stuck in his stomach and he asked if she really decided to resist him. Qian Shui immediately ran outside and asked Qiu Lin to save her from this maniac. Rubis liked her screams and was happy about it. Rubis asked her to scream harder and call for help and said that the more desperate she was, the more excited he was. Qian Shui ran out into the street, but Rubis said that she would not leave him, and suddenly he used his skill and sent blue waves at the girl. Qian Shui screamed in pain and crashed into a tree. She fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Rubis thought that she really couldn't withstand even one blow. Rubis wondered if the Night Soul family's venerable lady didn't have the power, and he was extremely disappointed because of this. But suddenly Qian Shui stood up and shot him with a weapon, but Rubis caught the arrow with his teeth and asked if she really only had arrows. Qian Shui continued to shoot at him, but he dodged all the bullets and quickly ran up to the girl, grabbed her by the throat and lifted her up. Rubis wondered if the princess of the Night Soul clan of the strongest clan in the world was only capable of using arrows, and where was her true power. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin and Xiao Yu went to visit the head, and Xiao Yu asked if everything would really be fine if she joined their group. The guy asked her not to doubt it. Xiao Yu asked the guy if the head of Qian Shui would like her. Qiu Lin said that she would now see what a luxurious dinner she had prepared in her honor. Xiao Yu said that such a nonentity like her would only pull her comrades back. She asked why they chose her. Qiu Lin looked at her and asked if she really thought she was so weak and why she underestimated herself so much. Qiu Lin said that now Xiao Yu was a 5th-rank sorceress, but her healing light was capable of saving the lives of as many as 10 people. Qiu Lin asked what if he was not mistaken. Her former head was a 9th-rank warrior, and this fact scared Qiu Lin terribly. Qiu Lin said that perhaps even a 7th-rank wizard could not heal a 9th-rank warrior 10 times. The guy said that Xiao Yu's healing magic was significantly superior to that of ordinary people. She just had trouble controlling it. Qiu Lin remembered the reason why Xiao Yu was unable to control spells from a distance, and it was all because of the wrong staff. Qiu Lin thought that they just needed to wait a little and they would make a new staff for Xiao Yu that would be convenient to use. And then suddenly they heard a roar. Xiao Yu asked what it was, but suddenly Qiu Lin realized that the roar was coming from where Qian Shui lived. Qiu Lin immediately ran towards the head's house. Xiao Yu said she asked what happened, and the guy asked her to hurry up and said that the head was in danger. Meanwhile, Rubis was strangling Qian Shui, and suddenly he let her go and said that she was too weak and with her strength she could not defeat Lian. Rubis said that the information given to him was incorrect and she could not be the princess of the Night Soul clan and could not sneak into Li An's house and kill him. Rubis added that, on top of everything else, she tasted tasteless, and this disappointed him very much because he expected something completely different from her. Rubis said that now his target was Qiu Lin and he wanted to go in search of him. He hoped that Qiu Lin could amuse him. Qian Shui asked him to stand and said that their fight was not over yet. Rubus asked her not to call it a fight and told her to go back to her crib. Qian Shui asked not to underestimate her and quickly ran up to him, but Rubus immediately delivered a precise kick to her stomach. Rubus told the girl that he had let her go and what did she want from him. He asked if she really wanted to die today. Qian Shui said that she is the head of 1,000 snows and she would protect her comrade and would not allow such a dangerous person to harm him. Rubus told her that she was complicating everything in vain and lifted her up with the help of his skill and asked her to sit there under the force of gravity. Rubus said that he would not let her go and he was surprised that with her strength she was able to move under 10 times gravity. Rubus said that his patience had a limit and told Qian Shui that if she wanted to die with all her heart, then he would fulfill her wish. But suddenly a tall man appeared behind Rubus and asked the young man not to be so reckless. And suddenly, after these words, the man threw Rubus into a faraway wall. Qian Shui said that he did it with just his mind. The man told Princess Qian Shui that she suffered because of his belated rescue and he said that he was to blame for her. Qian Shui asked the great elder not to be so polite and said that she was no longer a princess but an ordinary girl. The elder said that the head of the clan had missed her very much since the day she ran away from home. After all, 3 months had passed since they were ordered to come here and find her. Qian Shui asked the elder if there was anyone else there besides him. The elder said that the eldest son of the Ming-Dixie clan arrived with him. And then Rubus intervened in their conversation and asked if they really thought that he was already dead and Rubus immediately used his skill and shouted at them in waves. But the elder easily repelled his attack and Qian Shui thought that he had powerful magical power and was very strong. Rubus thought who this evil old man was, but he thought that even he could have died if he began to alternate such attacks. Meanwhile, Qiu Lin and Xiao Yu ran at full speed to the head to help, but the girl asked her brother why they ran for so long. They still couldn't get to this place and suddenly Qiu Lin noticed something strange and froze in place. Qiu Lin noticed that the air around them began to strengthen with powerful magical force and the space itself was distorted. After quite a long run, they returned to the opposite point and he thought that this was some kind of strange illusion. Xiao Yu asked the guy what was going on, but Qiu Lin told her to monitor her surroundings and said that perhaps they were in an illusion. It seemed to Qiu Lin that someone was attacking them and at that moment some monster was sitting on a tree and grinning at them. And then suddenly tentacles began to envelop. Xiao Yu was very scared and asked the guy what was happening. Xiao Yu asked how they got into the swamp but Qiu Lin asked her not to worry and said that it was just an illusion. The guy said that everything she saw there was not real. Xiao Yu was afraid of this and asked if it was really an illusion. And then these tentacles began to bind them and the girl said that they felt quite real. Qiu Lin said that this is a very reliable illusion, but the girl said that she would soon suffocate from these illusions. Qiu Lin thought that now they really seemed too real and he wondered if all this was really happening to them. And then the guy realized that if this was not an illusion, then the only thing it could turn out to be was the technique of spatial movement. And looking straight at the monster, Qiu Lin realized that they had been transferred from Green Lake to some other place and it seems he was mistaken in calling it an illusion. Qiu Lin looked at this monster and the environment and realized that this must be the Lotus Swamp of the Divine King. He thought about what could have transported them to such a remote place and realized that first he needed to deal with the monster and then start thinking. Qiu Lin immediately took out his divine essence and, turning it into a deadly sword, he began to destroy this monster. Qiu Lin thought that after the past battles, the abilities of the divine essence gradually began to awaken. And each time he killed monsters, he made the divine essence a more and more powerful relic. And also the second feature of the divine essence was that it could turn into a sword of judgment. It just came in handy for him in battle. Xiao Yu asked Qiu Lin what they would do next and what kind of place it was and how they could go back. Qiu Lin thought that really how could they come back and he replied that of course they could have been returned by the one who sent them there. And then suddenly they were transported again to another place and then Qiu Lin finally realized that this was a spatial movement technique. Qiu Lin said that the surrounding area was shrouded in powerful magical power. The girl said that she was very scared. Ahead, Qiu Lin saw something like a fire and asked Xiao Yu to follow him and she listened to him and followed on his heels. But suddenly, when Qiu Lin came closer to the glow, he noticed that it was not a fire at all, but a demonic dragon of the underworld was sleeping there. Qiu Lin thought that this must be the dragon's lair, but suddenly the dragon woke up and asked who was there. Qiu Lin couldn't believe that this dragon was talking. He thought that he was supposed to be a sacred beast. And suddenly Qiu Lin noticed that another beast called a Lepian appeared in front of the demonic dragon. Lepian and the dragon stood face to face. Lepian said that he kept wondering who it was, and it turned out to be the dragon Sax. The demonic dragon asked if he wanted to challenge him again and fight him one-on-one. Qiu Lin watched all this from the side. Xiao Yu wanted to tell him something, but he closed her mouth and said that if she wanted to live, she should have remained silent. And then the demonic dragon said that he should check what progress the Lepian had achieved.